So my piece in here, although it's similar in some ways to Zoe's pieces in that I think they're very social poems, their life is kind of given to them by other people. My poem is it's an interview. It's named Interview, and I guess what I'll say about it is I was reading that summer about Jack Spicer, who's an American poet, and he kind of was into this form and espoused this form of like a serial poem. And I don't think I really understood what it meant then, and I still don't really know what it means, but like, I guess I took it to be a poem that is built from constituent parts, and none of them really stand alone as their own poem, but it's more about the recording of some kind of development, or it's tracing a kind of development. So I'm just kind of going to read sections and kind of weave like one way through it. And I'd like to think that there are many. There's also a lot of quotations in here, and so when there's a quotation, I'll just try to signal it, and I'll cite the title just by reading the title afterwards. Interview. What starts this? Often I describe it as an urge, something about that word seeming to convey the ribbon of a tide edge and its latent bludgeon, but I used to enjoy the wrist writing, I think, just it moving. Today I went biking. I got my some German word money for being a foreign student registered at Humboldt or something. I look at crates of books selling on Unter den Linden. I bike more. I sit in a strange junky park with gravestones or just stones, knuckles sticking out of a cobblestone hump, eat my sandwich and orange soda. I'm not sure at what point something won't leave me. I go buy a book of poetry and a book of theory to stay sharp or just more muddled with that some German word money from St. George's. Try to go to a gallery and pass the street, just forge on through more arterials. I stop in Texas Guy to name him and try wondering why I did, really having written last Tuesday, living non-orbitally from him, having decided since Tuesday. Spate or pangs, like something round repeating of homesickness or just no, it's not mine, but the penchant yearning when it flames up from its constant. Thinking on the way this relation with this guy, stanza 3, ended, is ending, that's the thing. Earlier, a few stanzas back, I was thinking of writing that I would shoot myself in the knee if I leaned over. Like the little tart I am, picked up my Loeb Classical Library edition of Ovid's Amores and actually quoted it to be intertextual and collagey, which I enjoy, or at least tones down the mopey, bardic font of these, my poems, and because just for a moment I thought I could convince myself of whatever instigating ache that set me off to relate myself to this text being true and having fidelity. Quote, when I am well weary of love and the fire becomes faint, some dread spiral I'm ignorant of conducts my spirit, end quote. Amores 2, lines 27-28. Or, quote, when I have grown weary of love and the ardor of my heart has cooled, my soul is somehow seized upon by a whirlwind of wretchedness, unquote, which is Loeb's Grant Showerman translation in prose, no less. But fuck, who am I to do that? As if love poetry, even translated Roman erotic elegy written in dactylic hexameter, had to be in verse. But lines 27-28, I think I will to be the hovering reference today, or in general, or the tide, ribbon, punch, or ghost, clit, or whatever metaphor, because it was easy. I could cite it. I grew too attached to him. I see through him, or want to. After considering that the ending, that, or wanting to go to the Späti and get chocolate, or no, don't spend money, watch some faggoty movie like The Kids Are All Right, which I was considering doing instead of starting to write, quote, what starts, unquote, and then for some reason, Netflix not working in Germany, or my internet in this Neukölln apartment, I listened to a song off a blog. If he, you, Evan, Whoops. Ever reads this, I'm finding that I seem to often implicate people in my poems. 1. See my first portfolio for school, very American workshop style, or at least that's what they had us reading, earnest, clean symboled, family-based, called process thought. Quote, my mom clocked herself into a panic this morning when the sky was still a nubile blue, unquote, water. A, quote, I read the poems, spent most of the day thinking about them, or maybe just some lines. Pow, I can shoulder your anger but not your contempt, especially contempt that is so current, unquote. From my mother, Nat Marcus, December 27, 2012, to Nathaniel Marcus. We didn't speak on the phone for the next 3 months. 2. See the beginning of a poem I wrote a few months ago. Quote, writing crayon with Neruda's color of hope in or of it on the paper sheet, gray soda concerta, pill in half on last night, or blue light, nothing period. Marketplace. I think I write with the intention of sharing, a way of proving my worth to myself in a backhanded way, and possibly it's because I want to communicate something to people I couldn't without this intermediary. But earlier, there was that thing about the horsefly in the kitchen bumping against my foot. The sky still, blue, a little, I decide to go to sleep. The sky still blue a little, I decide to go to sleep. Back, in a serial way, at it, still it, meaning whatever it may, humming along like a relic, this week's. Sun on my neck, at work, Seattle the phantom, city that floats above me and assumes degrees of solidity depending, the weather, how flippantly my libido does, maybe, how, no, the face as in the word I put on, clip on my history. It was where I was a child and the locus I've been told to probe in my pictures of my life's tragedies beginning or this tragedy's life, no still theatrics today. It was out of our hands and hers. It can seem to be an inherently ghastly city though, the fog, rain, pines, lake, union, et al. Loam emotion, or a momentary and acute awareness of time's ability to stand upright. A lyric in a Billie Holiday's I'll Never Be the Same, I mishear as I'll never be the same, skies have lost their meaning for me, not guys, because the song's about her saying there's such an ache in my heart. Nat Marcus, June 12, 6:01 p.m. OMG, that will be amazing. Okay, well, I want to ask you about a piece of witting I'm working on, so maybe tomorrow, lunch or ice pause? Quote, I'm not photographing the residents as specific, identifiable individuals, but as representations of humankind. Arne Svensson, photographer of The Neighbors, an exhibition of images Svensson took of his Soho neighbors voyeuristically through their windows. There's a hope to elevate this speaker and Evan to a universal and timeless comment, but a converse and more perverse desire as well, and possibly they are mutually reliant, to mirror and then have that mirror fall off the wall, taking its image with it, the image and the object becoming indistinguishable as an ungainly matter in our Nat Marcus, Evan Swisher, Zoe Darcy, etc. hands. Et Keterai, and others. It deserves that harbor, or at least the Keterai it's suggesting, unnamed, do. Quote, I was researching Italian designers in the Memphis group, which was chill, and then this vegan Austrian bitch, who is actually very kind, asked me to look up news correspondents in Vienna, and it's surprisingly very difficult. Facebook message to Zoe Darcy, 5:48 p.m., June 3rd, 2014. That move, the statement X, but I think is a lasting vestige, scar, and or gift from good parenting and years of therapy, or just instinct? No. My introduction to dialectics. And it is a movement, a rhetorical thing like a chess move, a gesture which includes or expresses awareness of the negative space around it. Maybe another reason why I'm a good dancer, and the happiest, I think, that I ever am when dancing. It's embodying synthesis. Also, a rare moment when my performance for myself or for others in the club becomes indistinguishable. A conversation, or no, not even, just an exchange I had with my mom. To name her? Why not? Iris, my mother, possibly another omnipresent you, about a cyst. Great word, comes from the Greek word for bladder. A shame, it's so good, that syllable kept me a virgin for too long on my chest, and how insecure I was about it, and how it was red and leaked, and how it was vaguely vaginal, and... She buried her face in her hands and said, laughing, "What did I do to make you hate women so much?" And I paused and also laughed, realizing how offensive pity can be, and the windows did nothing except to be cold and black Littleton winter squares. Today they're playing in the office, Dream a Little Dream of Me, Louis Armstrong's. Earlier, the ash flew or folded up in a soft current, and its flakes looked like white butterflies or petals or some quiet and pastoral, delicate piece, and later I look better in a mirror in shade. Atme cum raucis, tuodum vestigia lustro, sole sub ardenti resonant arbusta cicadis. But with me raucous, while I trace your footsteps, the arbor roars with cicadas under a blazing sun. Virgil, Eclogues 2, lines 12 to 13. Corydon, the shepherd, alone and singing to his unrequited male love, Alexis. Corydon, from the Greek korydos, lark, is a stock name for a shepherd in ancient Greek pastoral poems and fables. The rain begins this morning, birds still yelling things, you, to the courtyard. Biking up the Hermannplatz hill it was, the birds straight, up gun shots, or the birds dead ass gunshots, and the sky unpruned. Quote, blue light, nothing period, unquote, marketplace. But I snuck into a graveyard then, and the birds, I look at the names on the gravestones for once. I lay in the grass and look at the trees for neutrality studies. I talked to Evan today and asked him if he felt comfortable with me writing a poem for Tabloid, that is an interview with him, and that I would send it to him, of course, and if he didn't want me to share it, I wouldn't. He said he was. I said it was kind of about how I become too attached to people and how I relate to people romantically, and also kind of how I can't write about anything without it being myself. And we, Etta James, I'd Rather Be Blind, live at Montreux in 1975. Nat Marcus, May 20th, 11:31 p.m. Out of Control, Evan Swisher, May 20th, 11:31 p.m. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I wanted some good female soul today. Feeling it. Thank you. We'll be selling these for $5 back there too, if you want one. And yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah.